And now, it's time to sit back and enjoy the Two True Freaks Internet Radio Broadcast.
Attention, people of Earth. Do not resist us. All who oppose us shall be annihilated. We command the most powerful army of monsters in the universe. They are sure to defeat your Earth monsters. All those who are hearing this are now under the control of the Earth Destruction Directive.
Hello everyone and welcome to Earth Destruction Directive. I am your host, Mr. Luke Giaconetti. I'd like to thank everyone for downloading and listening to the show today. Hope everyone enjoyed our last episode where we took a look at the independent Daikaiju film God Raiga vs. King Oga. Switching gears a little bit today, we are looking at another movie, and it is certainly obscure and off the beaten path. We are going to be taking a look at the TV film from 1978, The Bermuda Depths. And when I say we, I mean that in a very real and literal sense, because I am not alone. I am joined by my guest, making his triumphant return to Earth Destruction Directive. Everyone put your hands together and give a nice warm welcome to Dr. Bill Robinson.
Well, how did I get here? I was asleep on a beach in Bermuda, and you just walked up to me and touched my face and woke me up. What happened?
Oh, you see, we had this very deep, meaningful relationship when we were kids, you see, but you have been through so much that you've forgotten a lot of it and repressed it. And only by returning home to where the place where all this trauma happened can you begin to process all these things.
When I traumatized that turtle and carved something on its back.
I know, right?
And it's going, oh God, no, oh, the pain.
Jesus, no wonder the turtle was pissed. But yes, Bill, thank you very much for coming back. It's been quite a while since we had you on, and you know what? I'm not 100% sure, but I think the last time you were on, you and my brother, we covered frogs, and before that, you covered a film which has so many ties to this film, which was The Last Dinosaur.
I know that. What is with us in just old TV or old movies that some people think are schlock?
Yeah, this is a lot of schlock. So let me give a little bit of background because I'm going to say that this is a film that you had mentioned to me, and I had always kind of had it marked down to cover. And then we were talking a little while ago, and you mentioned it again. And so, let's go ahead and do it. So The Bermuda Depths was a 1978 film co-produced by Rankin-Bass and Tsuburaya. Rankin-Bass, best known in this country for their holiday, stop-motion specials like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, Year Without a Santa Claus. Here, Santa Claus is coming to town, but they did plenty of other animated and stop-motion specials over the years.
They did The Hobbit too, right?
They did The Hobbit. They did the first, The Hobbit, not Lord of the Rings, right?
No, I think it was just The Hobbit.
Ralph Bakshi, wasn't it?
Oh wait, I think you're right. You know what? I might again, as I will say, as I will bring up later. There's things I misremember.
Well, the thing with Rankin-Bass on this show is that they're probably best known as that they were involved in the production of King Kong Escapes, because at the time, which was about a decade before this, they were producing the King Kong cartoon series, and so Toho licensed King Kong from Rankin-Bass, and that was also connected, of course, with the original version of Godzilla vs. the Sea Monster in the alternate universe where that's a King Kong movie. But they said, so Rankin-Bass are primarily known in this country for their children's output. Tsuburaya, of course, studio that gave us Ultraman, and is still producing Ultra content to this day. As we alluded to, they had done another collaboration and stuff, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Now, this was originally broadcast as a telefilm, and the writing credits are Arthur Rankin Jr., who was the Rankin of Rankin-Bass, and William Overgard, who we'll talk about in a second. Now, it was filmed in Bermuda with a primarily American crew. Special effects and creature elements handled by Tsuburaya, unsurprisingly. Film first aired in the U.S. January 27th, 1978. I think it was a ABC Friday night movie, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And then actually would go on to be released in theaters in Japan about 18 months later in July 1979, because you see that a lot. It's a telefilm in the US, but it's a theatrical film in the rest of the world. We're looking at you, Battlestar Galactica. But as I was saying, I had no recollection of this film whatsoever when you mentioned it to me, but I know that you've got some background with this, Dr. Bill, so I'm going to let you take it away.
So like I've said to you, there, I had strong memories of this. I saw this on TV. I was probably about 8.5 years old when this was on TV. So, and I would have swore to you on a stack of Bibles that Jane Seymour was the female lead in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know why. And I think I brought that up in our last, one of the times that we talked before. Oh yeah, Jane Seymour was in that. Yeah, no, Connie Selica. And so this was, the movie was on archive.org. So I started watching it and I'm like, what? Connie Selica? What? Burl Ives? I only remember, the only thing I remembered from this was a girl who I thought was Jane Seymour, with the little kid on the beach, as a little girl, the turtle, Carl Weathers, Apollo Creed in this movie. Yep. This is between Rocky 1 and Rocky 2. And I remembered a giant turtle coming up next to some guys in a raft, and Carl Weathers being pulled underwater and drowning. That is all that I remembered. That just was burnt. Oh, and the song, because how could you forget that song?
Oh yeah,
Jenny. Oh boy,
all your AM radio favorites.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So that was and I remembered, because if you look on the Wikipedia, I remember that black and white ad in the TV guide that's on that picture, because I saw this. I know I saw this. I misremembered this, and I thought it was one of the greatest movies of all time as an 8-year-old. But I still have some love for this. So that's my background with it.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, that poster, that would have made me want to see it. Seeing this in the TV guide, I mean, it's pretty dramatic.
Yeah, he's got like it's Magnus and Jenny. He's got like a spear going down towards some creature in the water, and then you got little inset pictures. Oh, and at no time in my recollection did I remember that Burl Ives was in this movie, and I cannot believe that. And I know I said to you, I sent you a message, and I was like, Burl, caps, Burl Ives, what?
That was literally my response too, because I was watching this on my lunch break at work, and I had to like muffle my mouth, say Burl Ives, It's just one of those guys. You see Burl Ives, it just everybody gets popped, Well,
because anybody ever remembers him for is he sang some songs, and he's the snowman in Rudolph, and
yes.
But you know what? He was in another great movie. He was in The Big Country.
Yes.
And if you're a fan of Ren and Stimpy, you'll know some of his lines from the Happy Happy Joy Joy song. I told you I'd shoot you, but you didn't believe me. Go watch that movie. You'll see what I'm talking about.
Won the Academy Award for The Big Country.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wait, did it? I thought it got beat out by Gigi.
No, he did.
He did. That's right. He did, but it didn't get Best Movie. That's right.
It did not. He won for Best Supporting Actor, which you have to say, like, I'm blanking on his name now from Blazing, from like Harvey Korman. You have to say it like Harvey for Best Supporting Actor. Oh man! So the Bermuda Depths was directed by Suganobu Katani, credited here as Tom Katani. Now, this name may ring a bell because Tom Katani also directed the other two Rankin-Bass Tsuburaya collaborations. which was The Last Dinosaur, which came before this, and The Ivory Ape, which comes after it, which I've not seen, but apparently is like they're hunting a big white ape in the African jungle, and it's turned the villagers think it's violent, but it's actually a peaceful. I've not seen that one. I'm not sure if that rings a bell.
Shall I let you in on something else? I believe I saw that too.
Yeah.
because I went ahead and I skimmed through it. I skim watched it as well because I was like, that piqued my interest. I'm like, that sounds familiar. And you're right. It's the villagers. It's a guy in a big giant white gorilla suit. It saves kids, and it's huge. Kill it. Jack Palance is in it as a big game hunter, or he appears to be like a hunter. Gee, is this starting to sound familiar? And also one of the stars in The Ivory Ape, I think, is one of the guys that was also in The Last Dinosaur. And basically, you get to the end, and it's when I watched the ending, I was like, I have seen this. Because the Ivory Ape is up in a bell tower.
He's with a high-powered rifle.
No. Yeah.
At the University of Texas, though.
That's right. No, but Jack Palance is down on the ground with a high-powered rifle with a scope, and he's looking up at it, and these other people are up there, and the gorilla has a baby gorilla in its arms, and he sees it, and he tries to warn, Jack, he has a change of heart. He's like, no, don't shoot. And they shoot the ape, and of course, they kill the ape, and the guy that was up there to try to save it comes out with the baby, and he's like, here, you want to kill it? Here, this is, holding up the child. This is what it was protecting, and of course all the people feel bad and they go away, and that's the end of the movie. But I'm pretty sure I saw that one too, but it didn't have the lasting impact that the Bermuda Depths did.
Yeah. I almost wonder if The Last Dinosaur, the Bermuda Depths, and Ivory Ape are all supposed to take place in the same universe.
Gigantic creatures, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like the Rankin-Bass Tsuburaya cinematic universe.
Mm-hmm.
The RBTC.
Wow. They came up with it before everybody. Well, you did have the Universal monsters.
I was going to say, Universal was doing that back in the 40s, but who am I to judge? If you want to get technical, Toho was doing it in the 60s also, which,
Yep.
It's like that was a meme going around where it's like, Avengers Endgame is the greatest crossover in history. And then it's like, I beg to differ, and it's Destroy All Monsters. It's like, I'm just saying, but... yeah. So the other one out of Tom Catani's filmography that jumped out to me, the film he made between this one and The Ivory Ape. Okay. So it's called The Bushido Blade. Okay. And it was also written by William Overgard. Okay. So, William Overgard, who wrote The Last Dinosaur and Bermuda Depths and Ivory Ape, wrote this movie, The Bushido Blade. It stars Richard Boone and Toshiro Mifune.
Ooh.
And, yep, I need to see this. This just jumped to the top of the list right here.
Ooh, I may have to come back.
Yeah.
But there's no monster,
not
right?
A monster movie.
Well, we'll just have to drag in Jay and we'll watch it.
I'm just saying, you got Richard Boone in a samurai movie with Toshiro Mifune. I mean, that's just money. That's all that is, man. Yeah, but Overgard, as I said, wrote The Last Dinosaur and The Ivory Ape. Also, later in his career, wrote many episodes for both Thundercats and Silverhawks, which is appropriate, as those are basically the same show.
Yeah.
Thundercats is one of those ones that I loved when I was a kid, and then I was in college and it was on Cartoon Network, and I'm like, wow, this does not hold up.
The only thing that holds up is Mumra.
Mumra the Ever-Living.
Ancient spirits of... never mind, I'm not going into that. It'll hurt my throat.
And then again, on Silverhawks, you had, Monstar. Moonstar of Limbo. Same dude.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so... our cast here, and it's a TV movie cast, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just going to leave it at that. So Lee McCloskey, who plays Magnus, I guess he's best known for being on Dallas. But of all the things he's done, and has quite a bit of stuff. He's actually got into like philosophy as well as acting, which I thought was interesting. He is in the Dario Argento film Inferno, which is sort of the sequel to Suspiria. We may cover that at some point over on The Vault, but we haven't. And I thought this was interesting, just as a Two True Freaks sort of thing. Lee McCloskey has played bad guys on Buck Rogers in the 25th Century, Star Trek Deep Space Nine, Star Trek Voyager, and Babylon 5.
Yep, on Deep Space Nine, he was the hidden persona of Jadzia Dax. That was basically like a psychopath serial killer.
Oh,
yeah. In fact, in the one when the last season, when there's a feature episode with Esri Dax when she is trying to hunt down a killer on the station, and she kind of brings his persona to the forefront to help her find the killer, to think like the killer. It's a good episode.
Cool. I'm not sure that I've seen that one. I've seen a good portion of Deep Space Nine. I've not seen all of it. So, I don't remember him on. I know he, like I said, I'm looking at the Wikipedia page for the episode of Voyager he was on, and I remember the episode, but I don't remember who he is in. You know, but anyway, so yeah, Lee McCloskey. He's certainly a guy that looks like he's been bumming around on the beach. I'll give him that, and you know, and he's very intense when he needs to be, I guess. But not. I don't know. He's just kind of an odd performance, I think.
I mean, he does play because in this movie he's kind of the lost, drifting from thing to thing in his life, and that seems to go well. But then when he tries to get serious, he tries to get too serious. Yeah. You're like, all right, back it off, tone it down there, Magnus. Even his name sounds too serious. Who names their kid Magnus?
Right, unless you're going to be fighting robots or something, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's fine. Or you're in ancient Rome, you know.
Yep. Okay, the next one I've got. So you mentioned Carl Weathers plays Eric. Carl Weathers, best known as, of course, being the man who single-handedly built the rocket ship that flew to the moon, Hal Creed. But he was also Dylan from Predator. Dylan, you son of a bitch! What's the matter? The CIA got you pushing too many pencils. That's for my brother. My brother loves that line. You know?
Oh yeah, that is.
As kids, we would often do the Dutch and Dylan scene, and I, of course, got to be Dylan because you think my brother is going to not put himself over. They haven't really met my brother, but
Paul and I did that for Two True Freaks when we went and visited once up in New York. I think we did it in the airport. We had somebody, film it. Did the arm smack, holding the pose.
Didn't make it easy on yourself, Dutch. And again, to keep the Two True Freaks thing going, Carl Weathers, of course, now Grief Karga on The Mandalorian, which I can finally say I've actually watched. I was keeping that in my back pocket, and it was like, no, I haven't watched it. It's like, what? What do you mean you haven't watched it? I don't know why they sound that way when they're talking to me, but that's
what?
Well, I sound like Barney Fife. What do you mean? Andy, we gotta nip this in the bud. And Carl Weathers walks around with no shirt on or a shirt unbuttoned for quite a lot of this film. It's like the story of him on the set of Predator,
or a half shirt.
Yeah. Well, the story about that before filming would start for the day on Predator, he would go and get as pumped as possible.
So he could show up Arnold.
Attempt to show up Arnold.
Yeah.
Sounds about right.
And I don't know what if he kept wearing a hat, but his hair is just flat. Mostly on the top of his head. I'm just like, what's going on, man? What?
There's also there's a lot of him embracing dudes. Between this and like Rocky 3, That scene with him and Magnus running on the beach and then jumping in slow motion.
Wait, I don't seem to remember that. Did I fall?
maybe that was just a director's cut I saw. I don't know.
The director's cut of this. Oh my! Please no.
So up next, I got your girl, Connie
Jade
Selica.
Seymour?
Dollar Store Jade Seymour. No disrespect to Connie Selica.
No. That was completely my mismemory because when I'm like, because I think she is just beautiful in this.
Oh yeah.
And I did not know she was married to Gil Gerard.
Yes, she was married to Gil Gerard, and while she was married to Gil Gerard, they made the pilot, which became a TV film when it didn't get picked up, International Airport. Which is like, Airport, the TV series, basically. Connie Selica, probably best known, she was on The Greatest American Hero.
Yep. That's what I remember her from first, is The Greatest American Hero. And I fell in love with her there. So when I saw her here, I was, what?
Yeah.
I didn't care that I thought it was Jane Seymour, because I think I was getting her confused. Because the other movie that came out about this time with her in it was was it Sinbad in the Eye of the Tiger or The Seventh Voyage of Sinbad? It was one of the Sinbad movies.
Okay, well, the Golden Voyage of Sinbad had Carolyn Monroe, didn't it?
Oh, yep. Okay.
Yeah, but Sinbad in the Eye of the Tiger, I think, does have Jane Seymour. I was going to say, my dad and my brother just covered that.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
okay.
They just, let's see.
Go back and check. I might not have gotten to that.
But, the thing is, Jane Seymour had recently done, Jane Seymour's in Sinbad and the Eye of the Tiger. She's the villainess in that one. She's the evil sorceress, I think.
No.
Or is Margaret Whiting the evil sorceress?
I think it's Margaret Whiting.
Because I know Taryn Power is the heroine in that.
Oh, wait, or is she the villain? I thought Jane Seymour was the one that was in love with the prince. Or am I?
Yes, that is. Okay. Yeah. Jane Seymour is the princess. And
it had Patrick Troughton in it, too.
Yes. And Patrick Troughton, I want to say, is like Taryn Power's dad.
Yeah, he's like the ancient wizard guy.
Yes.
He does the magics.
Yeah. So but unfortunately, there is no Minotaur in the Bermuda Depths. So
No.
But so Connie Selica, she was also a regular on Hotel. Keeping the whole Arthur Haley thing going between that and Airport, the TV series. And Lee McCloskey guest starred on Hotel several times.
Whoa, mind blown.
Yeah, dude, it's all connected. And you were talking about how Connie Selica was married to Gil Gerard. You know who she's married to now?
John Tesh.
John Tesh. That's right. It's wisdom you can use right now,
That's right. John Tesh, who played a Klingon on Star Wars, on Star Trek.
Star Wars.
He did, people. Look it up.
Yep. And
Worf's walking the path of pain. He's one of the Klingons.
Yeah.
And he was playing a keyboard. Sorry.
And he had a talk radio show. It was wonderful, But Connie Selica, again, keeping the Two True Freaks thing going. She was also in Captain America 2, Death Too Soon.
Oh, the TV movie.
Yes, the second one of those.
That one had Christopher Lee in it, too.
Yeah, believe it did. That's Reb Brown, isn't it? Was
yes.
Cap in those movies? See, I remember those. I saw those sometime on TV when I was a kid. I remember the two Captain America telefilms.
Yeah, I think because that was CBS and they were probably rebroadcasting them like later on.
Yeah. See, that's the thing, like with this one, okay, The Last Dinosaur, TBS aired that constantly, like we talk about in that episode. But this one, I don't know this one ever played that much on cable. I don't. There's so many half-remembered memories of it.
Yeah, I honestly don't remember ever seeing it since like way back.
Long ago, before the last great ice age. That's from Fire and Ice. I use that line so often at home here. We finally had to watch Fire and Ice with the kids so they could understand what I was talking about.
Oh, I haven't seen that in a long time.
Yeah, my youngest said, "Yeah, these people need to put some more clothes on, Daddy." I'm like, "Yes, they do. Yes, they do." Last member of the cast I have some notes on. Of course, we've mentioned him a few times. Burl Ives plays Dr. Paulus. Standing O for Mr. Ives. Sam Snowman, of course, countless movies and TV shows. He did radio and music before that. Burl Ives at this point. Okay, here's one. Keep the Two True Freaks thing going once again. He was the narrator in the Ewoks Caravan of Courage.
Oh. I have not seen that in a long time.
I loved those two movies when I was a kid because, like I said, I was born in 1980, so the Ewoks were my jam. All right, and I have not seen them since, and I almost don't want to because I know it's going to ruin that memory.
Yep, much like this did. No. I'm not saying it ruined anything. We'll get to that.
Yeah. And then the only other one I've got, you mentioned this, and I had not realized this. Eric's wife, Doshin, who is played by Julie Woodson. Julie Woodson, Playboy Magazine's Miss April, 1973.
Woo-hoo.
So you know Carl Weathers is like, yeah, I did a movie with a playmate of the month.
That's right.
Yeah, we were in bed together in a scene. Yeah, it was implied that we did it. You know.
Well, the last
movie, but you know.
Now I don't know who played Magnus's dad, but the only other person I think that's really even shown in the movie that has any speaking roles. Oh yeah, because Magnus's dad didn't even have any speaking roles. He was just what happened to him. What happened to him, Luke?
He was eaten.
yeah, but that scene first goes, well, he was kind of devoured, or by sea life.
The sea life rose up and took him,
and took him.
Was eaten.
Yes, he was eaten. I mean, Burl Ives has such a left field turn on this kid. You know, the guy saying, "Well, it ate my dad." Yes, I'm talking like he's screaming at the guy. I was just like, man, this kid's already messed up.
Yes, he was eaten.
But anyway, the housekeeper, played by Ruth Hathaway, the first scene with her, I was like, I should have looked this up. All I saw was the actor that plays the evil guy in Serpent and a Rainbow that says to Bill Pullman, and I love this line because I say it to people and they look at me like I'm crazy. I'm like, what are you doing in Haiti, Dr. Allen? And they're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, haven't you ever seen Serpent and a Rainbow? Like, that guy is scary. We're going to have to look him up real quick now.
Wow. I don't know that. Yeah, now I can't unsee it.
Right? Because she's even got this weird thing, they like filmed her weird in the dark, and she's got this weird thing going on with her eyes, and I was like, what are you doing here, Magnus? Of course, now I'm doing Arnold,
What are you doing here in Austria, Magnus?
Well, would you have a good name for it? Looking up Serpent and a Rainbow real quick, because I cannot think of the actor's name. I saw him play a good guy in a movie, and I'm like, no, I must be high.
Yeah.
Zekas, okay. I'm sorry, I'm butchering the man's name. But yeah, Serpent and a Rainbow. That's a dark movie.
Yeah, don't bury me. I'm not dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, in case you need to be weirded out. But yeah, so that's our cast, and it's like, yeah, that looks like a TV movie from 1978. A lot of TV actors, and then a playmate of the month, but who doesn't even have her own Wikipedia page. I'm just gonna leave it at that. Did not exactly light it up. So Bill, you about ready to get into our story here? Because we got a lot of ground to cover in this movie.
I'm ready.
Yeah. So first things first, in the opening credits, we get the song Jenny. The song is written by Maury Laws. I was gonna say it sounds like it came out of like an A&M Records with my boy Paul Williams, but
I think Kenny Rogers stole this song. Because don't you hear lady? I've been humming this all day at work.
Yeah. So you can thank Mr. Maury Laws. And if that name sounds familiar again, if you've ever seen any of the Rankin-Bass holiday specials, Maury Laws does the music in all of them. So Rankin-Bass, they had their crew of folks that they were working with, you know. So we get that right off the front again. So nice little tune. So our story opens, and on a Bermuda beach, a sleeping Magnus Dens is approached by a beautiful but mysterious woman who we will come to know as Jenny Hanover, who seems to recognize him. Magnus is dreaming of his childhood, playing on the same beach, watching a turtle hatch from an egg with his friend, young Jenny. Jumping a few years later, both are playing when with a grown turtle, Magnus carves J and M inside a heart on the turtle's shell. And my comment is ugh, is what I have written in my notes. While young Jenny makes a cowrie shell necklace for Magnus. The scene then shifts to young Magnus on the beach, spotting Jenny riding the turtle, heyo, heading out to open sea and disappearing beneath the water. So that is how our movie starts. We have very little dialogue. We have no idea what's going on, but man, is it cool looking, because it's beautiful, because it's shot on location in Bermuda.
That opening shot where she comes, so he's asleep underneath like this grotto, right? And she's way down the beach. And when I say way down the beach, you think if somebody's walking up a beach, they would do the time lapse thing to where like they take like 3 steps and then suddenly they move like 10 feet and they, blah, blah, blah. Oh, no. I think she's like, 100 yards away? And we watch her walk that whole 100 yards till she gets up to him. And I'm like, well, I didn't remember this. Hey, wait, that's not Jane Seymour. What the?
You know what we call that? We call that runtime. That's what we call it. But, yeah, and then I said, like you mentioned, he carves their initials in the shell, and I'm just like, oh, God, are you serious, dude? We are, I mean, I really hope that is an effect, and they're not actually carving some poor animal with the initials.
Well, not to be cold or indifferent, does a turtle feel stuff on its shell?
I mean, thought when they were younger, the shells were softer, and they did.
Oh, yeah.
As they got older, they got more chitness. They didn't feel it on the outside.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah, it was kind of a young turtle.
I mean, if it's well, but I don't know. But it's still, to me, it's like I'm hoping it was an effect.
Or it just wasn't that. They didn't actually dig into it. It was just like on the surface, like chalk or something.
If it was chalk or something, that'd been much funnier. Might come back and not be as effective in the last reel, but
yeah.
So we get. I do think it's funny that young Jenny is apparently shopping at the same boutique that old Jenny is shopping at.
It's amazing how her clothes always fit her.
Yeah, well, it's like they have some of those things down here. We have a boutique in the downtown area here in my hometown that's called Generations, and they sell like outfits for for mom and daughter and grandma. They all wear the same thing because that's a Southern thing, I guess. I don't know.
Well, once we get to her origin, if you remember what she wears there, it is consistent throughout this entire. She basically has a black top on and like a pink type skirt or tatters of a skirt is what she wears throughout the whole movie.
Yeah. She kind of looks like she could be in the video for Kate Bush's Running Up That Hill.
Mm-hmm. Hadn't thought of that.
The only reason I know that, shout out to one of my other shows, is because a cover of that was used on a really good promo video between The Undertaker and Shawn Michaels.
Really?
With that. Yes. It was like a rock version. It was all like moody and emo.
Mm.
Not to say the original's not moody and emo, but it was the 80s. It was a different type of moody. Anyway. But, and so she disappears into the sea. And
how many times when I was a kid did I meet some cute little girl? Notice I said kid, okay.
Yep.
Did I meet a cute little girl on the beach, and then she just swam off at a turtle, and I was good. Hey, come back. Yeah. And then I'd see her a few years later. Hey. And she'd swim off on a turtle again.
Right. I can relate. I mean, there's plenty of times I could think of when I was growing up, I'd meet a girl that I was, thought I was very close to, and then she just disappeared, never talked to me again.
Yep.
Yeah. I think most of us can relate to that.
Yep. Moving on.
Yep.
Doesn't hurt at all.
Anywho, so from this, we get this kind of idyllic childhood. Okay, he's still dreaming, but it shifts again to his nightmare of the night that his father, whose name apparently is Lionel.
Oh, I don't remember that anywhere in the movie, but okay.
I think it's on the tombstone at the end.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Lionel. There's a name you don't hear much anymore.
Lionel
I'd be afraid
Dent.
to say Lionel, like the train. But, shifts again to the nightmare of the night his father, Lionel, was knocked into the water by an unseen horror in the cave beneath their house, and part of the house on a cliff crumbling down to the beach as a storm rages on. So I really like this. I like this bit because right at the beginning, we get what's clearly a Tsuburaya model and effect shot of the house. Like even just the camera panning up, we don't see what it is that's coming to the house.
Right. Your point of view is something.
Yes. Right.
Maybe something big.
Right. And because it looks like it's shot like a cross between like a slasher movie and a daikaiju, because we're seeing like perspective as it's approaching the cliffside in the house, and then we see it all getting like part of it getting caved down and knocked in and stuff. And it's like that's pretty cool. It's pretty effective in the storm too.
Mm-hmm. But it doesn't make sense why. Okay, so there's a cave under the house on a cliff, which, if you ask me, structurally does not sound like a great place to build a house.
Nope.
Just saying. But it makes sense later in the movie how the creature got in the cave. Right. Because Jenny and Magnus will swim underneath the house, come up in the cave into his father's lab. So it's kind of like, oh, well, because at first you're not really sure, like, how did this because for rewatching this, I was like, wait a minute, did it break through the wall and get into the cave? But no, that's I don't believe that's what happened. No, it swims underwater and goes into the grotto. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like the creature from the Black Lagoon. Yeah, Of course, I relate a lot of things back to the creature from the Black Lagoon. Like remember that movie that movie that won those Academy Awards, Traffic? Nothing like the creature from the Black Lagoon. So just for whatever that's worth. All right, so after he wakes up, and Jenny is like touching his face and stuff, and I don't like people touching my face when I'm asleep. That kind of weirds me out a little bit, But it's like when your friend takes like a marker and draws on you when you're asleep really deeply. I'm just gonna leave it at that. But after he wakes up, Magnus sees a woman swimming in the ocean. And that's all it says in the Wikipedia summary that I have liberally adapted. It's like he sees her and he talks to her, doesn't he? Or does that come later? I think that comes later. Yeah, I think he just sees her swimming and she like swims off. Then he like stands up, looks, and she's gone. Yeah. So Magnus then meets up with his childhood friend Eric at the docks. And Eric is, of course, Carl Weathers, not wearing, his shirt wide open. And I love this because he starts talking about the work that he's doing, and he immediately breaks out the trope about the real. We haven't explored, 10% of the world's oceans, and it's like, does every movie set in like really deep water have to use that? That we've why explore outer space when we've only explored such and such percent of the world's oceans of our own planet? We don't know anything about the depths. Blah 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 blah. It's like maybe because if you go deep enough, the pressure will crush you like a grape. I hate to say this, once you get out in space, it's all pretty much the same, right? Yep. I digress. Eric introduces Magnus to Dr. Paulus, Burl Ives, whom in his Panama Jack hat or whatever the heck that. For all the world, he looks like Richard Attenborough from Jurassic Park, doesn't he? It's like I think that was in the back of my head, but I never put it together. Yeah, you're right. Dr. Grant, Dr. Sad will roll up on the Brachiosaurus. Welcome to Jurassic Park. And he busts out into a song. Yeah. Jimmy crack corn and I don't care. Dinosaurs are back. Dinosaurs eat corn and I don't care. The Velociraptor ran away. Oh, sing with me now.
And Richard Boone shows up. They eat meat!
You ding dong!
Boonta! Well, Boonta would have shut this turtle down and but that's neither here nor there. So Eric introduces Magnus to Dr. Paulus, whom Eric is working for to finish his master's degree in marine biology, which we all know most people get into marine biology for the women. That's the main reason I vote. You go to University of Miami and study marine biology, right? But suddenly, the boat, which is the Panaliris, which I love names of ships that sound like they were generated with a random name generator.
Well, I had asked you earlier. I'm like, is that some type of Daikaiju reference that I'm missing?
Yeah, not that I'm aware of. I'm not familiar with the monster Panaliris. I mean,
Well,
there might be. I don't know. That's not one that rings a bell. This film is, despite the fact that it's the Rankin-Bass Tsuburaya, this seems way more American than The Last Dinosaur. As American as that movie seems, there's more Japanese aspects because every now and again dinosaurs have to pick up a drill tank and throw it around.
yeah.
The boat lifts violently to one side, and the net they pull up has been shredded by something very large and very strong.
Are you sure the camera just wasn't violently tilted to one side? Somebody honked a semi truck horn.
Yeah.
Tilt the camera.
It's like that GIF where it's the Enterprise, getting rocked back and forth, but they've stabilized the image. It's just George Takei running off the set.
Yep.
Classic. Yeah, but so they pull up the net, and there's
it's a big hole in it.
Yeah. There and it's that happens in movies after Jaws, right? They pull up a net and the net's all torn and broken, and they're like, "Oh, what could have done this?"
It was done by a bumble. Gonna have to get Yukon Cornelius out here on the Polaris.
Yukon Cornelius. It's a peppermint mine! But that evening, the three men are joined by Eric's wife, Doshin, and Eric takes time to brag over how smoking hot his wife is, and that she cooks.
Not anything sexist there.
Yeah, 1978. That's what it is. Join them for dinner at Dr. Paulus's house. Magnus is intrigued by the necklace Dr. Paulus's housekeeper Delia wears, which resembles his own. I'm sorry, and this might again just be because I knew I'd be recording with you. Delia! I want my cake!
Yeah, but he actually...
Burl Ives is screaming for his dinner the whole time. Where's my dinner?
But he's saying it. Yeah, he's like, Delia! Where? It's Father's Day. Where's my cake, you? Oh, I can't do that. It's killing my throat. Yeah, I just got over a cold, so.
Man, that version of Creepshow with Burl Ives and Father's Day.
Well, plus I know you run a little more of a PG show, so you have to not say full lines.
Oh man. So after dinner.
Well, okay. Now hold on. After dinner, right? Doesn't he say something like, "And it better not be fish"?
Yeah.
And then we cut to after they've eaten dinner, and what is it? It's a big honking fish with bones sticking out of it and everything.
Yeah.
Like,
and Burl Ives falling asleep in his chair, which, as I've gotten older, I can identify more with that.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Yeah. There's a great meme that's been going around. It's Homer Simpson asleep at the table, and the caption says, "If your dad doesn't fall asleep like this every night, is he even really your dad?"
Man, my kids bust on me for that all the time. They come out on the weekends and look to see if I'm still awake while watching TV. And they'll wake me up. I'm like, I was awake. What are you talking about? I wasn't asleep. They're like, you were snoring. We heard you on the other side of the house, over the fan, with the door closed. I wasn't asleep. It was a TV show. You yell at me, you kids. I was awake and I liked it.
I'm young and full of life. Don't laugh at me. I was once like you. My son said that to me. He goes, Dad, you were snoring in the chair. I'm like, I didn't hear nothing.
Yeah, I didn't hear a thing. Although every now and then I do wake myself up. I'm like, what was that? It sounded like a giant turtle sneaking up in my house.
I said, it freaks you out. You think there's somebody in the house with you now, right?
The best part is when I lay on my back. I think I've told you about this before. My wife says I'll just like hold up an arm straight up in the air on my back, so I'll be like I'm reaching for something, and I'll keep it up there for a long time, and then eventually it'll drop, and I've had it smack me right in the face, and I'll be like, blah, 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 blah. It sucks getting old.
You need to stop abusing yourself first.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
stop
the
hitting
first
yourself.
step, right? Stop hitting yourself. Oh, man. So after dinner, upon not getting the answers to his questions about his father's death from Dr. Paulus, who was only half awake, Magnus goes outside and again sees the woman swimming by the boat. He jumps into the water to follow her, but apparently forgets, oh my God, I can't swim, right? You know. Well, he didn't wait 30 minutes after eating. That was the problem.
And he cramped up.
He cramped up. He is saved from drowning and revived on the beach by the woman whom he does not recognize. She returns to the ocean, telling him her name is Jenny Hanover. Ooh. Now, with the same, we have some depth of knowledge, right? Because we've seen her more than he's seen her, because part of the time when we saw her, he was asleep.
Mm-hmm.
And though this is another situation that if girl's asleep on the beach and dude comes up and starts touching her face, it's creepy. But dude's asleep on the beach and Connie Selica comes up and starts touching his face, it's like, ooh, exotic, you know.
I want to point one thing out before I forget it. Now, we know what she could be or is, only because we've seen the rest of the movie. Yes. You notice how beautiful her nails are, but they're slightly pointed?
Yes.
I don't know if that was a touch that they, kind of put in there. Like, you could see that she could be some type of clawed sea creature, maybe. I mean,
yeah.
I know that's a stretch. It may have just been that she had a wonderful set of nails at that time, because I thought, but it's like, I kind of thought it was weird.
Yeah. Well, it's striking visually, right? It's
yes, because she's got like these white nails. She's got this dark tan and these really white nails that are kind of come to not a really sharp point, but enough of it, if she wanted to scratch you, you'd feel it.
Yeah, for sure.
Not that that's ever a plot. It's not ever a plot point anywhere in the rest of this movie. It's just something that I noticed that caught my eye. So anyway, enough.
For sure. She returns to the ocean, telling him her name is Jenny Hanover, which I already said. Mm-hmm. Magnus's description of the incident to Dr. Paulus is not taken seriously. Dr. Paulus laughs it off and tells him the woman must have been joking with him, as Jenny Hanover is a name given to a sea creature of local folklore, and also to supposed mermaid relics made of dried rays and other dead sea life. Mm-hmm. This made me, that's an old like sideshow trick. Yeah, that they take fish and they would take the skeleton of a fish and the skeleton of a monkey, and they would mix them up together and say, "Ooh, it's a mermaid." That was an old, if you in the freak show, that was always one of the that was a common one you'd see. Mm. I've studied carnival sideshows and stuff a bit too more than I probably should have, and I found out some weird crap like this. If a coworker of mine back at Halloween, she was going to a costume party with her husband, and the theme was that the host wanted them to do like couples like circus or sideshow things, and I'm like throwing all these ideas at her,
and they're looking, and she's looking at you like, "What's wrong with you?"
She's like, And I'm like, I finally said, I said, you know what? And I said, your husband wears a beard, right? And she goes, yeah. He goes, have him wear a dress and be the bearded lady. I said, and then you just get, you put on like a grease paint mustache and go get like, a couple of giant foam balls and put a bar between them and make them like the 500-pound weight and be the strongman. Perfect couple's costume right there. But anyway, this is not a Halloween movie. So after Dr. Paulus shoots down Magnus and says that the girl's she's lying to you, bro. She's totally lying to you. Delia later tells him the full legend. Pay attention. This is important. There'll be a test later.
And there's a flashback.
Yes. Diddly-doo, diddly-doo, diddly-doo. Jenny Hanover was a beautiful but vain young woman who bargained with a mysterious god to save her from a violent storm at sea and was granted eternal life at the cost of becoming a sea creature who can never again live on the land. And I really like this flashback. This is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well,
because the ship is a miniature.
Yep.
And it's got, some of the other, like another article I read said that her parents or her father had built the ship for her. Because up on the front, I cannot remember. It's the forecastle, but I don't remember exactly what the piece is. Like often, is it the masthead? Okay,
I thought that was called the masthead because it's like her image,
right?
On the masthead,
right? But the front of the ship is the forecastle. But yeah, the masthead part, there's a wood carving of her there. And they're going through this terrible storm, and there's lightning, and for some odd reason, she's out on the deck.
Yeah.
But she had been vain. She didn't want to get married, but she'd agreed to go back to the mainland because she finally agreed with this rich guy that was going to marry her. So, and you see her. She's praying to something, and then she jumps off the ship, saying, take the rest of them, but spare me. And then she dives into the water. The ship's hit by lightning, starts to fall apart. And then as she's going down into the water, it's like her dress is billowing up around her. It looks almost like a jellyfish, right? Would you agree?
That's exactly what I...
And she's getting smaller and smaller.
And jellyfish look.
And as she's going down into the depths, there's like these shooting, like 2001 Space Odyssey type shoots of light and like rays coming up that get blinding until she disappears down into the darkness.
Yeah, no, it's really well done. Like I said, and I love the fact that Jenny, who so far we've only seen in a positive light, is portrayed in a very negative light here.
Mm-hmm.
Literally praying to take all the rest of them, but spare me. The church of every man for himself. I know that I'm familiar with that one. But no, I really like this whole flashback. I think it's really well done, and it's that's the thing about this movie is that it never seems to commit one way or the other. Is it a science fiction movie? Is it a supernatural movie? And it kind of weaves them both together, and I think it works pretty well because of it. It certainly is unique in that aspect. And and at this point, like I said, I had no idea where this was going at this point.
Yeah.
The next morning, the police summon Eric to examine enormous tracks on the beach, and Carl Weathers kind of hopping around in the sand.
I know he's like he's a kid at Christmas.
Yeah,
he's jumping through these tracks. He's got the tape measure. He's holding it. He's really selling it that he's excited. I gotta say, he's not just phoning it in.
He's fully invested at this point.
Yes.
Yeah. And it appears that from the tracks that it's a giant turtle, like 40 feet across, is what the implication is. It could also be a couple of kids dragging barrels up the beach. But who am I to take this away from Carl Weathers?
I don't know if it's here or at this point in the movie. Anytime something dramatic happens, we get the even at points where it shouldn't even be there. It's just like, why is this here? And it wouldn't surprise me if I went back and watched it and it was right here too.
Yeah,
because it just there's like three main music cues in this movie that just get beat into the ground.
Right. Yep. Original score. Only wrote 3 pieces. One of them's a piece of classical music, which is in the public domain.
Yep.
I will say at the beginning of this, when the cop is driving on the beach, you almost think it's like, wow, has he lost control of the vehicle? Is he going to plow into the onlookers or something here? Because he's all over the place. And then Carl Weathers jumps out.
That was a cut scene.
Yeah. It's like Christmas time up on the boardwalk. Pop, pop, pop.
Ooh, there is a 102-minute Japanese unedited version.
Yes. And if you go on IMDb, I think it's on IMDb, somebody has very thoughtfully gone second by second and saying what the different cuts are and stuff. It's also in widescreen, which is cool.
Oh.
So at the same time, Magnus goes down to the beach and meets Jenny. Finally remembering her as his young playmate, Magnus takes Jenny to his father's wrecked house. He tells her some of his memories from childhood, while she describes the quadrilles her father would hold in their great hall. And we get some more how old is she? That she has all these memories of things that are clearly from a past.
But this goes right over Magnus's head because he's pretty girl.
Yeah.
Say
quadrille again. Yeah. Well, you know how it is. You spend as a guy, you're acculturized for the first couple of decades of your life to not feel any emotions except rage and hunger. And then you meet a girl and your brain is not equipped to deal with it. I'm not angry or hungry. Well, maybe I'm a little hungry, but I mean, then Eric calls Magnus away to go out on the boat with Dr. Paulus. And then as they're running away, Jenny, once again, disappears. And it's in my notes, dude, she's ghosting you. Come on, man.
Literally.
The original ghosting back before cell phones.
You just need, oh, God, I'm blanking. Mac from Predator.
Yeah.
Are you ghosting? You ghosted me. Blah, 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 blah. Can't say the full line.
Yeah. I'm going to have me some fun.
And Eric comes up and says, "It's just a couple chicks out in the bush making fun of you, Magnus." Oh wait, no, sorry, that's not. Jesse
was like, "We hit nothing."
I was going to say that Jesse Ventura would play Burl Ives' part.
Yeah.
Yes, he ate him.
Oh my gosh.
Dug in deeper than a Bermuda turtle.
Stuff will turn you into a sexual tyrannosaurus. But that's the last movie. That's the last dinosaur. That's the wrong movie. But
no, maybe Burl Ives should have played Jesse Ventura's role in Predator.
Yeah.
That would have been interesting.
So after they go out again, and they've got the longer line and all that now, again, the boat lurches uncontrollably.
What is that, BJ and the Bear going by? What the heck is that?
It's a whole other story going on the shore here. We're not privy to. It's BJ and the Bear go to Bermuda. It was that two-parter,
The Adventures of Sheriff Lobo in Bermuda. Good time.
It could have been. What could have been. Although in this age of streaming services, you never know, right? But Eric is forced to cut the cable on the trawling net with the big bolt cutters, which I thought was kind of funny.
You know how many times? Okay, so I was in the Navy. You know how many times there's things that are under tension like that? They used to show us films about synthetic line snapback and how it cuts your legs off. And didn't you guys watch that movie with Cuba Gooding Jr. when he got his leg cut off?
Men of Honor?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you should just be cutting that high tension cable like that.
No, it's one of several scenes in this that's a blatant HSE violation. I mean, I'm looking at this. It's like, look, I wasn't in the Navy, but I have had training. I've talked about this on the show before, too. I've had training with, like, working around cranes.
Okay, yeah.
And a crane? Jesus. You know what I learned from taking crane training? Stay the hell away from cranes.
And we're not talking to birds.
Up there is like, I was on one job site, the boom snapped, the guy got twisted in half. It's like, what the hell are you saying this for, man? No, I can't unhear that. I'm going to carry that for the rest of my life now.
Well, neither will Eric towards the end of the movie either.
No kidding.
Ugh.
No kidding. But, yep. So again, Dr. Paul is like, we could have had 20,000 feet of cable. Again, he's not that angry. I mean, most of the time Burl Ives in this movie is pretty laid back about it. You know, he's like, but again, they got nothing. You know, they know something big's out there, but they don't know what it is. The effects tank here, it's clearly the boat just being picked up off screen and lifted up and down in the effects tank. It's quite common.
Yeah.
Very,
this did remind me of Ultraman. Seeing this again, going, wow, this is just like Ultraman.
The problem is that Ultraman came out a decade earlier, and was and was not a movie; it was a TV show.
Yeah. Well, this was on TV.
Yeah, this was aimed more at adults, though, I would imagine.
Yeah.
8.5-year-old Bill, notwithstanding.
Well, I mean, 8.5-year-old Bill probably loved it.
Oh, sure. But you know, it's the thing is that water is hard to scale, right? So it's a little tough. It's almost as if after all the effects in The Last Dinosaur, which good, bad, or otherwise, there was a lot of them. It's almost as if the Rankin-Bass was like, the boss wants to shoot a movie in Bermuda because Arthur Rankin, in fact, moved to Bermuda after this movie. I think it was Arthur Rankin. It was either Rankin or Bass moved to Bermuda after this. It's like the boss wants to shoot a movie in Bermuda, and we want to make another movie like The Last Dinosaur, but we don't want to spend a lot of money. And Tsuburaya is like, we can do that. We can do that.
Yep.
So that evening, Magnus, here you go. Magnus again confronts Dr. Paulus about his father's death. Paulus explains that Lionel was conducting tests regarding mutation in sea life when he was attacked, and the sea life rose up to take him. Which means,
Are you saying he was eaten?
Yes, he was eaten.
Yes, he was eaten.
Wow, a lot of remorse for the kid's dad. I mean,
yeah. Like, he was my best friend, but man, he deserved it.
Didn't he actually say? I did a quick skim watch before we got like at about 7:00 tonight, going through. Did he actually say that they only found his head?
I don't know. They never found anything, I thought.
Oh, okay. I could have sworn they said that they only found his head, and I was just like, oh my god, how did what?
We had it stuffed and preserved, dude. I keep it on my nightstand.
It's a great lamp.
Yeah. I keep Mike and Ike in the mouth, but that's just great. I love it.
Now, okay, so then Magnus asks him if he remembers the turtle from his childhood and describes how he carved initials on the shell for himself and Jenny, and Paulus is dismayed. Now, is Paulus dismayed because he remembers or has seen a turtle with this, or is he dismayed because he thinks Magnus is off his rocker?
He says something like he remembers you. I remember you playing with a little turtle, I think is what he says. Or is that Eric that says that?
Well, Eric later basically says, hey, well, actually, this is later on in the synopsis series. Like, yeah, your parents thought you had an imaginary friend and saw something that he thought he played with a turtle, but nobody ever saw this girl that you were talking about.
Yeah.
So they're like, yeah, man, they thought you're crazy.
Yeah, Paulus is dismayed, but it's not really clear why. I kind of thought the same thing. Like, that must mean something to him, but he hasn't told anybody about.
I know. There's a lot of things that are not spelled out in this that you got to infer. Now, Doshan straight up thinks that Magnus is a nutcase.
Yeah.
But Eric's like, bah, woman.
He's like, what do women know?
Yeah, but she's the only one that was, sensible.
Yeah, pretty much. She's like the one rational character in this.
Although she does convince, spoilers to Dr. Paulus to go to his death.
I think Burl is at that point. He's like, I've had a good run. I'm
tired of fish.
I have to eat either the fish dinners go or I do.
All right, but moving back to the plot.
Later on, sometime later, or as our good friend Sean Engel used to say, some time has passed. Eric and Dr. Paulus argue about how to proceed with whatever it is in the deep waters they are investigating. Eric wants to use the horror. The horror. I love this. This is the exact phrase in the Wikipedia synopsis. A harpoon firing bazooka.
Okay, not just that. When he test shoots it,
yes.
What is he? He shoot it through like a concrete block or some like huge piece of metal. And at first I was like, oh, look at that. It's stuck in one side of it. Oh my God, it went through it.
It went through it. And here's the thing. So he calls it a recoilless rifle. And he's standing there. Magnus is standing right behind him. In the back blast area where you're not supposed to stand.
Yes. I wonder, and I think that was an honest reaction because I don't know if Lee McLaughlin, the actor, actually knew it was going to be that loud because he's like right next to that where you're not supposed to be.
Yeah. No, you don't stand there. That's like a jet exhaust. You just don't do that, Dr. Paulus, aghast at the idea. I mean, this thing, what it looks like? I know this is a little after your time, but by about 1990, 91, 92, they started having, in G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, they started having the actual, missile launchers that would launch actual missiles, spring-loaded missile launchers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I am sure that one of them has like a big bazooka thing that fires a grappling hook like this. That's for all the world this looks like is like, hey, you just got, the new version of sci-fi and he has real firing weapons, and it's this giant. I guess it would be like Wetsuit or, Cutter or one of the, Admiral Keelhaul, one of those guys, one of the naval guys.
Oh, what was the guy with, I can't remember.
What?
He was one of the main Navy guys.
Shipwreck?
Yeah, that's it. Okay, yeah.
Save my bones for Davy Jones. Shipwreck was the cool guy. We found out on one episode that Shipwreck lied about his age to enlist in the Navy early.
Yep.
That's how much people want to get into the Navy. Just putting it out there, I was gonna say it's like, look, hey, you're the veteran, man. You know better than I do.
I didn't lie to get in.
No, you didn't lie to get in. All I remember is I remember you told me the story where you got a letter that you were being drafted, and your response was, "I'm in the Navy."
Called up the draft board because they kept saying, "Well, this is gonna affect us." Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I'm in the service. Oh, okay. Well, we'll stop bothering you.
You get an army guy's like, "Are you really, son? Are you really in the service if you're in the Navy?" You can...
Look, I got a Navy tattoo and everything. See, we all get them.
You got an anchor and it says mother, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Got a heart. It's got an anchor. Mom.
I remember reading the thing is like you. That's why you're not supposed to get your wife's name because you could always separate, but everybody's got a mom.
There you go.
Right. Just like the Penguin says in Batman the movie. Every one of them's got a mother. Man, Burgess Meredith in this movie. That would have been never mind. That's a what if I don't even want to examine. So Paulus, aghast at the idea, withdraws his support for the expedition. And I love this because he says to Eric, you have Captain Ahab syndrome.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Foreshadowing?
Yes. So again, we've got like a couple of different movies all going on here at the same time, right? Because Eric's like the star of a whole different movie of him hunting down this giant thing with his, his nutsy cuckoo white friend that he used to have, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like this dude seeing ghost chicks on the beach and stuff, man. I don't know if he's ready for us to go hunting down this thing.
Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
So it's like, yeah, I like that because it's like it does kind of have a Captain Ahab sort of thing to it, you know. I could see a version of Moby Dick with Carl Weathers.
Well, so one of my other misremembered things will come up at the end about Carl Weathers, to what I remembered what happens to him versus what happened in the movie. But unless I'm thinking of another movie. But anyway,
yeah.
We'll talk about it when we get there.
Yeah. So they set out, and right at the hour and 2-minute mark, we get our first look at the giant turtle. And get used to this shot of him swimming up towards the camera because we see it several times.
And the wonderful turtle sounds it makes.
Yeah.
That sound like a humpback whale.
Yes.
Because that's what it is.
That's exactly what it is. It's Star Trek 4 all over again.
Yeah, but this is before maybe people didn't know what a humpback whale sounded like. You know, I mean, if they hadn't been watching like National Geographic or any specials on PBS, because that's where the only place you would have seen it back then. You know, so it probably wasn't a bad thing to use. It's very ethereal, very underwatery.
Yeah. I mean, who's to say what a giant turtle sounds like? You know.
Sorry.
I mean, I said it, and it's a nice looking turtle. It's not Gamera. It's not, it's trying to look realistic in that way. It's similar again to The Last Dinosaur, where it was attempting to look like a real animal and not like a kaiju.
Mm-hmm.
So I do like the turtle, even though it doesn't get a whole lot to do, especially at these parts. I do like that. So we're an hour and 2 minutes into our, let's see, the 98 minutes is the U.S. running time.
Mm-hmm.
So we're more than, just about 2/3 of the way through when we see the turtle.
Wow, the Japanese version was 90 minutes. That sounds like a much more tighter, because there's so much that could have been cut out of this movie.
Yeah.
The long walks, it would have made this. That's the only bad thing I have to say about this movie, is that there's some long, drawn-out sequences that could have been tightened up. And
Yeah.
I think a good 8 minutes, could have easily been taken out of this film.
Yeah, the whole bit where they're, like I said, where they're swimming underwater and all that. It's like Thunderball, right? Thunderball.
Yeah, but Thunderball had action, though, a little bit.
Thunderball is a great movie, but then you go and you're fighting underwater for 15 minutes.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
As they wrestle in slow motion underwater. And I love Thunderball, don't get me wrong.
Sorry. They should put that music in here.
Yeah, of course. If I'm ever rich enough to own a yacht, I'm going to call it the Disco Volante, just because of Thunderball, which means flying saucer in Italian. I know that. I'm going to get my wife the same type of suit that Domino wears, and then I can go on the yacht by myself when she laughs at me. But
then you can have a boat that comes out of the boat, right?
Yeah. It's not just one boat, it's like 2 boats, man. It's like Mask. Mobile Armor Strike Command. Mask. But again, I don't know why the Mask guy talks like that, but that's I've been having that problem a lot lately. Again, I hear it happens to us older guys. But so after trawling,
yes, this point in the movie, this is where we become this is where the movie turns into Jaws, right?
Yes. Your buddy Paul would say, "Is it Jaws?" In this portion, yes, it is.
Yeah.
But it was 1978. It was popular to rip off Jaws at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I've talked about it many times. There was
there's even a line in there where Burl Ives, didn't he say you're going to need a bigger boat?
You're going to need a bigger boat. I mean, one of my favorite, what ifs. There's an unmade film from right around this time that was supposed to be a co-production between Hammer and Toho, and it was called Nessie, and it was going to be a film about the Loch Ness Monster, and it was going to be all English cast and English production and all that, but Toho was going to do the special effects, and they were going to make Nessie, the plesiosaur, and it was going to involve Nessie escaping from Loch Ness and getting into the getting into the open water and going and destroying an oil rig and stuff. And it's like, man, that sounds cool.
Oh, the only thing that would make it better is if Terry Thomas was in it and he'd go, "I sailed, boy."
Yes. Do you see that rather large reptile?
As it eats him.
Yeah. Oh my!
Bug off.
If American women stopped wearing brassieres, the entire economy would collapse, I say. That's from It's a Mad, 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 Mad World.
Yes. All these bosoms.
What is the obsession with bosoms? God, that movie is amazing. But anyway, Eric and Magnus, they're trawling. They're trying to find something. They find once again something is dragging on the line. Taking a small harpoon gun, Eric dives in to try and saves the net. He shoots at a form he can see only vaguely, which is clearly Jenny. It's clearly a girl.
Hey, it could be a shark wearing a tutu. All right? Let's not jump to conclusions.
It
could have been a sexy shark in a black swimsuit wearing a pink tutu.
As we found out on that one episode of Misty, I thought you were the octopus in disguise. I mean, I get it's underwater and stuff, but it's like, they say like, oh, when a shark comes up and you're on a surfboard, you look like a seal. It's like the opposite of that, If you're underwater, a person looks like a seal. I don't know.
Was he wearing? Did he have a mask on, or was he just?
No, I don't think he had a mask on. I think he was.
Well, then of course that's why he couldn't see. You can't see anything underwater at that distance, especially in seawater. That stuff stings.
Yeah, I as a 40-year-old man finally managed to convince myself to open my eyes underwater. I'd never done it before that.
Really? Oh,
yep.
Yeah.
Finally, we were at the YMCA pool one day, and I said, "You know what? I'm going to do it."
You know what? You can't see crap.
No, you can't. But I proved to myself, if nothing else, I could do it. So.
Is that a seal or a sexy sea siren coming to kill me?
Yeah, either way.
Shoot it. In the local pool at the Y.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So he shoots the form he can only see, which is Jenny. Magnus then tells Eric, as Eric is pounding beers. From this point on, he drinks like 4 beers on camera. He just drink it. It's like, Carl, we want you to really get into the role here. He's like, okay. Magnus tells Eric that he had been with Jenny the night before on the beach. Wow.
And wow.
And how Jenny was his friend from when they were young. Eric does not remember her, dismissing her as an imaginary friend and revealing that him and his parents used to laugh at him about it when he was younger.
Yeah, okay. I got to take umbrage with this. How much older is Eric compared to Magnus? Why would Eric be over there laughing with Magnus's parents? What a dumbass. My imaginary friend. I'm like, you're not an adult. Get away from me, kid.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I'm going to talk to you about my son's imaginary friend. Get out of here. Hey, what are you doing with that beer?
Yeah. So for the purposes of argument, Carl Weathers, born 1948, so he is now 74 years old. Lee McCloskey, born 1955, so he is 66 years old. So if we go by that, he's 8 years older than him. So that means how old would you say that Magnus is at the beginning? 6? 7?
Yeah.
I mean, 8 at the outside.
So he would have been like...
Which means Eric would have been 16, hanging out with his parents, laughing at it.
What a nice guy.
Don't take it the wrong way, Lionel, but your son's kind of stupid. You know what I'm saying, man? Am I right?
Who are you and why are you in my house?
Yeah.
What? Oh, I'm your son's friend, Eric. Yeah.
Yeah.
Never met you before in my life.
Yeah. Oh man. But again, it's like it's like, dude, she's a ghost. That was my note that I keep writing over and over. It's like, no, she's real. I'm telling you, it's like, dude, she's a ghost. You're sleeping with a ghost, man. Like, sort of. Like, not really.
She's not a ghost. She's a ethereal sea witch or whatever.
She's like a sea hag thing.
Yeah.
Made me think of Futurama when they go to the lost city of Atlanta, which is sunk under the water. It's in the Atlantic Ocean. And she meets the girl and Fry falls in love with the mermaid.
Mm-hmm.
And they're getting it on. She's like, well, I'm just going to release my eggs and then you do what you got to do. And she's like, oh, man, why couldn't you have been the other type of mermaid with the fish half on the top and the lady half on the bottom?
Ew.
Yeah, Fry is pretty stupid. But it just amuses me because it's such an accurate depiction of Atlanta. I can say that as someone who lives in South Carolina and not Georgia. The Coke Museum and Turner Field and airport. So the trawl lines finally catch more, where we got 15 minutes left in the movie. So the trawl lines finally catch what turns out to be a gigantic turtle, which is so large it begins to tear through the net, which Eric has gotten from the Coast Guard. Eric blasts it with the horror, and allows it to run out the line just like Quint, waiting for it to resurface. So here we go. Now we've got the man versus nature portion of the film.
Mm-hmm.
As they shoot the turtle and get this thing embedded in its shell and are willing just to wait it out. And
it'll get tired and come up.
Yeah.
Why?
I mean, again.
Why? You didn't tie any ballast to it to make it come up. Turtle's just gonna be like, yeah, okay, I don't need to come up. Screw you.
Yeah, it's like you watched the beginning of Jaws, you didn't watch the end. 3 barrels, that kind of thing. After sundown, the boat's power mysteriously gives out, and the compass spins crazily. My note here is the turtle cut the power.
How to cut the power, man? It's a reptile.
It's like Orca,
Oh God, that's another.
Oh, that to quote my friend Adam, this whale should be commanding armies. Orca's the smartest person in that movie,
Sees Richard Harris. I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna remember you. Killed my wife. You killed my child. You bastard.
Orca also introduced us to what I have lovingly referred to as the ejection-type whale miscarriage.
Oh, God.
Not just your normal whale miscarriage. Not your everyday, run-of-the-mill whale miscarriage. It's specifically an ejection-type whale miscarriage. That film also posits that killer whales have larger brains than humans. And also features a killer whale, like
who understands
hitting a shark with a spear like Bill Goldberg.
Well, it also understands leverage, literally. If I go down on this side of the ice, Richard Harris will slide into my mouth.
It's like, after he does the same thing to the girl with the cast on her leg.
Oh, yeah, was that Bo Derek? Was she in that movie?
I don't remember if that was Bo Derek.
Gonna have to look up Orca.
Look that one up, Orca. While you're looking that up, I will tell you my Orca story. So, when Orca came out on DVD, long ago movies used to come out on DVD, and people were excited about it. We didn't have to deal with millennials saying, "I don't buy things on physical media." If I can stream it, it doesn't matter.
Of course, if you're old like us, it was like, in my day, we had to wait for it to be on a Sunday night movie.
Then we tape it off of Channel 11, and we liked it. We loved it.
Commercials and all.
God, the commercials are the best part. Skibbity woobity gee, look at me. I'm a pirate. I'm stealing money from the cable companies as I'm whipping down Orca the killer whale off of Channel 11. Watching Richard Harris matching wits and losing against a giant fish.
I cannot believe that when I typed in Orca that I had to follow up with movie because it didn't come up. It's like, that should have been the first thing.
I know Charlotte Rambling is in that movie too, isn't
So
she?
Eric is in that movie, as is Will Sampson, who also played the Indian guy in Poltergeist.
Yeah. And Charlotte Rampling is also in there as well.
Robert
Dino De
Carey.
Laurentiis, popular guy on this network because he is the, of course, rival of Dufo DiManzo, so they get that thing going on. But so again, so like Orca, the turtle cuts to power and the compass starts spinning crazily. They start freestyling about the Bermuda Triangle. It's crazy magnetic fields and all sorts of stuff. It certainly isn't just a lot of storms and rocks, So Magnus leaves the boat's cabin. This is great because Eric has been drinking steadily. It's like we did some science, so let's get smashed. Now, I don't know about you, kid. I'm thinking it's time to get some shut eye. It's like you're like a 6-pack and a half in.
Now I did read that, like in one of the things that talked about the movie in depth, like I guess they did a lot of day for night shooting. I guess you changed the filter on the camera, and this is one of the times that you can actually kind of see it. But after what's about to happen, which probably takes place in about 5 minutes, it'll suddenly be full daylight. But anyway, we'll get to that.
Yeah, the day for night is really kind of suspicious. The other thing I forgot to mention is when the turtle surfaces, the water starts roiling up. Mm-hmm. And in a monster movie from Japan, you know what that means.
Oh,
Monster's coming up. That's what always means when the water starts roiling up like that. Magnus leaves the boat's cabin, finding Jenny on board the ship. She begs him to free the turtle, nebulously, good word, Wikipedia, nebulously saying that she made a promise long ago that she will forever regret.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. Dr. Paulus.
Meanwhile, some miles away on the shore,
Dr. Paulus has been convinced by Doshin to go search for the boys because they've been out of radio contact for a few minutes. So Dr. Paulus boards a helicopter to fly out to the boat. Upon arriving, he observes a huge shape underwater near the boat. Some other turtles might be big turtles. We've got the biggest turtle. There've been some other turtles. We've got the biggest turtle. I may have to cut that out. The turtle surfaces, swimming quickly towards the helicopter, and in the greatest scene in cinematic history, leaps out of the water, sending the helicopter crashing into the ocean.
Okay, he bumped it.
Yeah.
Boink. Now I did catch. It caught flame, and then
like Louis Anderson going down. Top 5 answers on the board. Okay, now I will say this in all fairness. And again, you were in the Navy, so you know this. Helicopters don't take much to go down. They exist in a perfect state of homeostasis. And if you mess up one portion of it, there's a good chance they're going to start spinning out of control.
Well, I mean, if a giant turtle jumped out of the water and smacked into the bottom of a helicopter, there's a good chance it would probably go down.
Yeah. I mean, all you got to do is just stop the rear rotor,
Yeah, then it's just going to spin. It's going to be totally screwed.
I like watching in movies where you got somebody flying a helicopter and they take their hand off of one of the controls. It's like, oh, and they're all dead. Cool. Okay. All right. This ain't like a plane. You can't kind of make it, Yeah, they go down, and this is. I mean, I love this. This is so awesome. I mean, if I wasn't in my office, I'd have stood up and cheered watching this because it was on my lunch break. But it's like, it's so cool. The turtle jumps up and knocks the chopper, and it bounces and blows up. It's like, of course it does, because Dr. Paulus.
You were like Jeff Bridges when Kong smacked the helicopter on top.
Yeah.
Yeah!
That pisses me off so much to this day. But yeah, I mean, again, it's a TV level effect from Tsuburaya. This was not, a feature film level effect, but Tsuburaya was mostly making TV shows at this point. So
that's where I was like, oh man, that's right out of Ultraman.
Absolutely, absolutely, and it's awesome. I really love it. I mean, legitimately and unironically, I love the fact that they blocked this out in the effects tank and had the turtle on a wire to get it up enough and hit the helicopter. And helicopter models are tough to do anyway. I've said that many times in our Destruction Directive. And to crash it, I love it. I love it. That's just fantastic. Right around this, so upon seeing the crash, Eric rushes out onto the deck, is confronted by Jenny. To his horror, her eyes glow an eerie green, just as the turtle surfaces under the boat, capsizing it. It's like, guys, we're running out of time. Let's get things rolling here. We got to speed this up a little bit.
Now, I don't think that capsizing effect was that bad.
No, I thought it was pretty decent. Yeah,
because there's a lot of little pieces and details that fall off of the ship model.
Yeah,
that look like pieces. I really thought that. I mean, you could tell it's in a tank,
right?
But man, it looked pretty good.
I liked it. I liked all the air rushing out.
Yeah,
that's what'll happen, right? Because you get the water pushing in, it's going to displace the air. The air is going to come out like that. And
it was pushing the air like out through the stack of the trawler, pushing it out. Like it was good. It was good.
No, I mean that I will say that. I mean that's the thing. You don't know what kind of money they had, but I mean that to me, for an outfit like Tsuburaya, which at this point was not like, I mean, even Toho was out of features at this point. Godzilla there hadn't been a Godzilla feature film in like 3 years at this point. So there wasn't a lot of Japanese tokusatsu movies being made. So a lot of it was TV level stuff. So I thought this was nice. If this had been an episode of Ultraman, I'd called it out as a superior effect.
Mm-hmm.
The ship goes down and goes down smooth.
Down goes.
Down goes Creed. Creed is down. Magnus climbs aboard the lifeboat after we see him swim all the way over to it. Magnus climbs aboard the lifeboat amidst the wreckage and desperately tries to help Eric on board, but Eric is entangled in the line from the horror. Oh, the irony!
Oh, but he's also like hanging on to a box. Yeah, there's like a chest, and he's like, and he comes over, gets him, and Eric's trying to cut the cable, but it's a steel cable. He's trying to cut it with a knife.
Yeah,
and Magnus is trying to cut it, and Eric's begging him for the knife, and I'm just like, and Magnus is like, "What are you going to do with the knife? It won't cut." Do you think Eric was going to take his own life with the knife?
I think he was either going to kill himself or he was going to try and cut his leg off.
Yeah, but he doesn't, because just before that, then that's when you get the full money shot of the turtle rising up and its eyes glow green.
Yes,
just like Jenny's, and then it like does a quick swooping turn and goes down into the water, and it just drags Eric right behind him.
Yeah, and that whole bit where we eventually do see Eric's corpse, that's pretty creepy. That's legit creepy right there. As the payoff to the Captain Ahab's portion of the story, that's a legit, well-made bit of horror imagery right there. His dead body being dragged down.
Now, what I misremembered in this scene was, for some reason, I thought he was stuck on the shell.
Ah.
And that's where, because when I watched this, I was like, oh. But I think that's because of what we will see. I think I cross-wired in my head what we see at the end, the very last shot of the turtle with the close-up on its shell. And I think that's where I thought he was stuck to the shell and not just, if I was 8 years old watching this, no wonder I didn't learn how to swim until I was much older. Because I saw this when it came out, and then a few years later on like ABC, they were showing Jaws, and I watched that. Even on TV, there was not a lot of blood in Jaws.
It's still pretty damn scary.
I mean, I slept in a captain's bed, which is way off of the, it's got shelves underneath it and drawers. So I'd sleep up in that, and I couldn't see I was about 9 or 10 years old. I couldn't see the floor. And in my head, I always had ideas of alligators and sharks and all kinds of things were around my bed, and I couldn't get out of my bed at night because I was terrified.
Yeah.
Because the giant turtle was going to suck me down.
Giant turtle was going to get you.
Yeah.
So Jenny approaches an unconscious Magnus lying flat on the beach, sadly kisses him, and then returns to the ocean for the last time. Diddly-doo, diddly-doo, diddly-doo.
Mm.
Some time has passed. Doshin approaches Magnus in the graveyard where his parents are buried and expresses her horror at the loss of her husband and Dr. Paulus. Magnus tells her that he is leaving Bermuda now that he's ruined everyone's life. He's going to head on. Well, I guess I'll just be moving along. And he wants nothing to do with the sea ever again until the next scene. I mean, admittedly, you're in Bermuda, but you could have taken a plane. I'm just saying. Magnus walks away without noticing the statue of Jenny.
Which is quite beautiful, I must say.
Yeah, it is a really nice statue. I do wonder if that's a prop.
I was wondering that too.
It's gotta be, you know? It'd be too on the nose if it wasn't, you know?
Connie Selica probably has it at her pool.
Yeah. Connie Selica, I imagine, is a grandmother at this point, right? So...
Eh.
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. It's like, Grandma, why do you have that weird statue that looks like you?
And she turns, she's got green eyes and sharp white nails. Shut up! Okay, Grandpa.
Oh, sweetie, I got paid to make a movie in Bermuda with the guy from with the guy from Dallas and Burl Ives. Okay. Without noticing the statue of Jenny and the inscription which reads Jenny Hanover 1701-Lost at Sea on her gravestone.
1701? My God, it's a Star Trek tie-in.
Yeah. It's all connected, man. I told you they're not supposed to mess with the space-time continuum. I don't know why Cheech Marin is upset about this, but hey, man, you got to mess with the space-time continuum, man.
Oh, far out, man.
Hey, maybe she was like a ghost the whole time. You know, you ever think about that? You know?
Don't piss off the sea life, man.
Yeah, it makes you think. On the ferry leaving Bermuda, Magnus, a litter bug, throws the necklace Jenny had given him into the sea.
Now, it's already shells. It's not littering. There would have been shells in there anyway. These are just attached on a piece of string.
Yep. The necklace sinks past the giant turtle, which is shown to have the same initials Magnus inscribed on its shell all those many years ago. Dun, dun, dun.
Now, I was thinking about that. If he put those initials on that thing when it was small and it grew, wouldn't they be distorted? Because it almost looks exactly the same, just bigger. It shouldn't have grown in proportion to the size of the... See, that's where I thought that I think in my head, the last shot of the movie was the turtle swimming. You saw the initials on the turtle, and you saw Eric's body attached to the shell.
Oh, God.
That's what I had in my head.
Yeah.
So I'm glad mine wasn't as gruesome.
Yeah. Well, you know, it plays back into the whole supernatural love story angle of it, because it's got, as I said, it serves different masters. From what I was reading about this ending, if a turtle has his shell damaged or marked like this, as it grows, it'll stay on the same scale because their shell is made of scales. So it would grow and get bigger, and it might get distorted depending, I guess, on how the scale grows, but it would stay on that same scale. So this one is kind of weird because it's covering a couple of scales now on the giant one. So it's like, that's not really right, but it would still be there in some capacity. Whether it be readable or not, I don't know the answer to that. But I don't go around, marking up wildlife.
Now, if Magnus had never come to the island, would Eric still have died?
Yeah, that's a good question. Would he have found it? Well, there's nothing that Magnus does that
right.
Yeah, that leads Eric to find it. Eric finds this thing on, him and Dr. Paulus find it.
Yeah, Magnus is just talking about his own screwed up childhood and how he's seeing ghost women, and so really, I think at least Eric and maybe Dr. Paulus, because I think if Magnus hadn't have been there, Dr. Paulus would have probably been out on the boat with Eric. So if you take away our main lead, supposedly, I don't think this movie would be any different.
No, that's the one people like to throw that around about Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah.
So the next time somebody does any, it's like, well, actually, if you watch the Bermuda Depths,
See? Yeah.
Throw that one out. The Bermuda Depths, which predates Raiders of the Lost Ark by, 2 years, 2, 3 years? What is Raiders, 81?
81, so yeah.
Yeah, so 3 years. But, no, you're right, because, like I said, it really is kind of two movies here, and I like that aspect, because you get that this could have been just a straight-up Moby Dick sort of thing, right? Mm-hmm. With Carl Weathers hunting down this giant turtle and Burl Ives yelling at him. But the supernatural love story sort of thing, I like it. It's different. It's unique. I said this to you on Messenger. It's like, this is a weird, thoughtful little movie in its own way, because it's not super forthcoming with all the answers. So we do kind of fill in the blanks ourselves a little bit. And I don't mind that most of the time as a movie like this, where it's like, well, what do you think happened, Luke? That kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, it does. It is a little long in some portions. Right. But overall, I enjoyed this and had a great feeling of nostalgia, and also an idea of how much your mind can misremember things completely. The mind is a terrible thing, and we must stop it before. Oh, sorry.
No, I mean, I said this coming off of The Last Dinosaur. I was expecting something more like action adventure-y, right? And because say what you want about that movie, I mean, that movie's got them building a giant catapult to throw rocks. At
that movie moves, man. That movie is boom, 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 boom. There's all kinds of things going on. We get this long, thoughtful thing, with the music and like you said, the love story, that opening shot that takes forever.
Yeah.
But you're like, who is that woman? What's going on? And then you cut to the weird stuff with their kids, and they're, she's still wearing the same outfit, and you're like, what?
Yeah, it's like a Caribbean Gothic in a lot of ways. Because, like I said, it's got a wonderful use of the location, all the places that they film in Bermuda. It's got like I said, it's got a lot of color. It's, like I said, I enjoyed it, even though it is definitely atypical from what I expected going in, and it's atypical from a lot of movies that involve a giant turtle. I mean, in all seriousness, or any giant monster. It's really I think that is the reason why, for so many people, it stuck with them, even if the details were kind of fuzzy, because it is so unique and so unusual. There's not another movie I've seen that's quite like this movie.
Oh, one thing we forgot to mention. It doesn't mention it in the synopsis, but after Jenny is shot with the harpoon, when she later comes up on the ship and sees Magnus, he's got his hands on her waist, and just below his hand there's a hole in her bathing suit, which there's a wound there in the shape of the harpoon, and you're like,
it's but a flesh wound.
She's not natural.
It's like, dude, she's a ghost. She's a sea ghost thing, man.
She's a supernatural sea witch.
She's a hag, dude.
But she's beautiful. Hag.
Yeah. That was, you need. She's hot though,
Yeah.
It's like, dude, have you seen her? Come on, man. Well, looks just like Connie Selica, from Greatest American Hero.
Well, and this is this is such a everything else you see her in. She's I don't know if she was maybe because she was like, what did they tell her? How did they tell her to act? Just act aloof, act, spiritual, ethereal, because she is very like wispy with like the way she touches and the way she moves. It's like she's almost like she's swimming on land, like she's flowing through water while she's walking. All her movements are very graceful and that like she's still underwater. I don't know if it was a conscious choice on her or they took, it was her direction. I'm glad I got to see this again.
Yeah. I'm glad that you put me onto watching it because again,
I'm glad you enjoyed it because I was concerned. I was thinking, oh man, what if this doesn't live up to the hype that I said?
Yeah. Now, the thing is like when I like I said, I didn't know really what to expect. I had one thing in mind. They got something completely different, but it wasn't in a bad way. I thought it was in a thoughtful way. So it's like, it's one of those things that's like, I'm willing to overlook some things again, probably could have used a few minutes trimmed out of it, maybe, maybe not Burl Ives screaming, yes, he was eaten, as great as that was. It's just really, really out of place. But, it's a creative story and I think it's unique and different. And I'm not going to fault a movie for doing something different that I haven't seen before. So I got to give it props for that. Now, if you, the listener, yes, if you would like to watch the Bermuda Depths, it is available, believe it or not, from the Warner Archive collection on DVD and Blu-ray. Now, Warner Archive, that is where they will print it on demand for you. So you can't go to the stores and buy it, but if you order it, you will get one printed on demand for you. So it's like a burn, essentially, is what it is. And the Blu-ray has both the TV and that international widescreen version are on the Blu-ray. So if you go that route, you can get both versions of it. I'm sure this looks pretty nice on Blu-ray. That's similar to how Last Dinosaur is also one where you can get it on the Warner Archive collection, but I don't think that one's not on Blu-ray. That's one's only on DVD. And as Bill alluded to, you can also check it out on the Internet Archive. So if you go to archive.org, you can check it out, give it a watch, maybe just bring back some memories if you hadn't seen it since you were a kid, or discover it, see what we're talking about if you'd never seen it before. Is all just to watch something like this that there's no easy way to get it without it's not like you can go on Peacock or HBO Max and just fire this one up. It is not available on any streaming service that I was able to find either.
Yeah.
Which is, expected, I suppose. As much odd stuff as there is on there in most of these streaming services, this seems a little obscure even for that. But it's an enjoyable 90 plus minutes. I mean, I told my wife after I watched, I tried to explain it to her. I said, you would probably like this. I said, I know you don't normally like these Japanese, films that have a Japanese monster in them, but I think you would enjoy this one because it actually has a good story and it's got some interesting characters in it, and I think it's worth checking out. I do not have it on DVD or Blu-ray, but after watching it, I'm like, I'm considering it. This one probably is worth going in the collection. Just the unusual kind of circumstances around it, being, like I said, the Rankin-Bass Tsuburaya co-production, and the fact that it's a pretty decent little movie. That's worth $10 or so to get it on DVD. At least it is to me. My opinion. Your mileage may vary.
I'm gonna have to look into it.
All right, so Bill, thank you so much for coming on and talking about the Bermuda Depths with me. This was fantastic. Why don't you give a little rundown for the listeners out there where else they can find you on the internet?
They can find me on Two True Freaks. Nowadays I'm pretty much on Back to the Bins. And I guest, on a few other shows here and there. We've actually, on Two True Freaks, we've also been we finished up our coverage of Deep Space Nine, all 7 seasons that we'd actually was started years ago by our friend who's unfortunately no longer with us, Sean Engel. Yep. We finished that and we continued on to, we're covering the animated Star Trek series.
Yes, the Filmation Star Trek.
Yep, which we're almost done with all our recordings for that. although we're a lot further ahead in our recordings than the actual show. So there's there's only 20 some odd
Something
episodes.
Like
yeah. And our next topic we're going to do is we're going to cover The Prisoner. I don't know if the Patrick McGowan.
Yes.
I don't know if you have seen that.
I have not, but I do like the song by Iron Maiden.
Yes. Andy and I, so on that, Andy and I are the only two that have seen All the Prisoner, and we are familiar with the Iron Maiden song.
Yes.
And Paul and our other host, Dave, have not ever seen The Prisoner or heard the song. So we're going to have some good discussions coming up in a few months with that.
So that is awesome. I love Back to the Bins. Back to the Bins is my favorite comic book podcast. Has been for years. Always a treat. You never know what you're going to get on Back to the Bins.
Well, you know what? Someone on this podcast other than me might be on Back to the Bins
yes.
in the future. But that's a story for another day.
That is another story. I have been on Back to the Bins in the past, and I look forward to once again being on Back to the Bins in the future. That is a terrible reference, which I will not get into detail on this all ages friendly show. But yes, but again, and Listen to the Prophets again. Another great show, and I love that you guys did finish it. All of Deep Space Nine. I know you and I had batted around ideas for shows that are never going to happen. Maybe someday, when all the kids are out of the house, we'll be able to do it. And our wives are tired of us.
Our Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea Voyager crossover thing called Voyager to the Bottom of the Sea. Maybe someday.
Yeah. Man, Captain Janeway and Admiral Nelson. Oh man, the two of them.
They would.
They would make very stern-looking babies. That's for sure. Jesus.
Be made of rock. They come out with stone.
Just with coffee everywhere. Just bottles of coffee. Right out of the womb. But anyway. But yes, please go check those shows out. Again, anywhere you find Earth Destruction Directive, you can find Back to the Bins and Listen to the Prophets. So please go check those out if those sound like fun to you. I would like to take this opportunity to thank all of you once again for downloading and listening. As I say all the time, podcast is a labor of love, and we do this for the fans and for your enjoyment. So thank you. I hope that you guys enjoyed this. I'd like to take a moment, of course, to say that Earth Destruction Directive is for everyone. If you are a fan of Japanese giant monsters, even ones that star in American movies with Lee McCloskey and Connie Selleck, then you are welcome to be a part of Earth Destruction Directive to whatever level you feel comfortable with. We are not an elitist show. We're not a gatekeeping show. We're out here for the people, and all are welcome. As always, at Earth Destruction Directive. I want to thank everyone. Want to let everyone know again that you can go check us out on YouTube. Just go to YouTube and search for Earth Destruction Directive. I really need to add that to the outro at some point. But I've been mirroring all the episodes on YouTube, so if you prefer to throw it on your PlayStation or something and stream while you're eating dinner or whatever, you can do that, and that's very much appreciated. If you go to YouTube, please subscribe and hit that notification, like and comment. It does a lot to help get the word out for the show. And, of course, you can find out how to get in touch with me in the outro to the show. You can always email me at earthdestructiondirective@yahoo.com. You can, of course, reach me on Facebook or the Twitter. And we will always try to answer all your emails and talk about your emails and your social media here on the show. Bill, we've come to the end of the episode, and I do have to say that there's always going to be a morning after, just like in the Poseidon Adventure, right? So this is kind of like the Poseidon Adventure without Gene Hackman or Ernest Borgnine.
Or Shelley Winters.
Or pretty much anybody from... anybody from the Poseidon Adventure, even beyond the Poseidon Adventure. But, man, that was a tidal wave of the turtle that turned the ship over in Poseidon Adventure.
But you know what? You know what didn't happen to anybody in the Poseidon Adventure? They weren't eaten!
No, they were not. They didn't even turn to cannibalism or something in the Poseidon, which would have been. It's like we've been trapped for like 3 hours. Why do we? You can't be that hungry. But so but yes, there will in fact be a next time. And next time, folks, we're going to be going back a little bit more traditional type of film here for Earth Destruction Directive. Next time out, we're going to be taking a look. I mentioned it in passing a little bit earlier on the show. We're going back to 1975 and Terror of Mechagodzilla, the final Showa-era Godzilla movie, the last of the original run before the series went on hiatus for 9 years, believe it or not. And if you've listened to this show before, you should be able to make an educated guess as to who my guest is going to be for Terror of Mechagodzilla, but I will leave that in the future and just leave it at that. So if that sounds like fun, I hope everybody will come back and listen to that one. Bill, I'd like to thank you once again for taking time out of your busy schedule and joining us here to talk about the Bermuda Depths. It's been a lot of fun. Really appreciate it. We'll have to take a look at the Ivory Ape. Have to see, maybe we can find that one, do that one too.
No, don't.
Well, maybe we'll do the Bushido Blade instead. We'll get Richard Boone and Toshiro Mifune.
Oh, yes. I'm down for that.
That's like Master Ninja with Lee Van Cleef, right?
Hmm.
Lee Van Cleef and one of the Van Patten boys.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Master Ninja theme song. Master Ninja theme song.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh, no
And
problem.
I always enjoy listening.
Well, you were always welcome here on Earth Destruction Directive, so thank you very much for coming on. And thank you, everyone, for downloading and listening. Please come back next time for Terror of Mechagodzilla. And until then, keep them stomping.
But don't eat them!
This has been Earth Destruction Directive, a Daikaiju podcast, produced and created by me, Luke Giaconetti, as part of the Two True Freaks Internet Radio Network, available at twotruefreaks.com. This is a fan work celebrating the history and culture of Japanese giant monsters. All movies, TV shows, comic books, characters, and other intellectual property is copyright their respective copyright holders, and no infringement is intended or implied. If you would like to send an email to the show, you can email me at earthdestructiondirective@yahoo.com. I try to respond to all emails, and if you send in some comments, I will read them on the show. All episodes of Earth Destruction Directive can be found at twotruefreaks.com. You can also find the show on your favorite podcatcher. Just search for Earth Destruction Directive. You can even leave a review on your podcatcher of choice if you'd like. You can find me on Facebook. Just search for first name Luke, last name EDD. You can also get in touch with me on Twitter. Just search for the handle @LJacone. That's LJACONE. The theme song for this podcast is Future Gladiator by Kevin MacLeod, downloaded from Incompetech.com, licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 4.0 license. Thanks for listening, and be sure to come back next time for more city-stomping fun here on Earth Destruction Directive. Tune in next time to hear the crusty old podcaster from Oklahoma say,
"There's a WTF moment if I ever saw one."
"Oh, I've got a cat trying to get in my lap." No, you're not getting on the episode. You're a terrible co-host. You purr and then you say nothing. Like, I heard we were discussing fish.
I heard fish.
Yeah. Yeah, go. He's going to sit here and stare at me.
You shouldn't want to go into all that.
Please, Dr. Paulus, I'd like to know.
He's consumed by sea life. That's the nature.
You mean he was eaten?
Yes, he was eaten. Yes, he was eaten. Yes, he was eaten. Yes, 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 yes. Yes, he was eaten. Yes, he was eaten. Yes, he was eaten.
Dr. Paulus.
Yes!
Dr. Paulus.
Yes!
Dr. Paulus.
Yes!
Dr. Paulus.
Yes! 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 He was eaten. Yes! He was eaten. Yes! He was eaten. Yes! He was eaten. Yes! Yes! He was eaten. Yes! Yes! He was eaten. Yes! He was eaten. Yes! He was eaten.
If you persist in this, I withdraw from the project. It will be the end of our work together.